Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We all got to do a job. We all got different roles and one player. Whether that's giving up a home run or striking out in big scenarios. Obviously it's a team sport, and we have our different roles, and we got to play them to the best of our ability. And so one guy doesn't step up, another guy has to step in for him, and we're going to do this together.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, Tuesday night edition from downtown Columbia. Happy to have the gang all together again tonight. Phil Kornbluth to my left, Kevin McCrary to my right, Professor Tom Hayes, and dead straight across behind the bulletproof glass once again, Jarmart, Jared Rogers Martin. Let's open up the phone lines at 800-956-7266. That's a free call, toll free anywhere in the world. 800-956-7266. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Well, we joked about Georgia and their issue last night. And then today, of course, the news is two current and a former USC football player involved allegedly in an altercation. Where else, of course, but 5 points. Early this morning, 3 a.m. to this moment, as far as we know, been no arrests in the matter. But the story is that current Gamecocks Deebo Samuel and Sky Moore and former Gamecock Jalen Dredd. Love that name.
The name Henry, and then he changed his Dredd.
Jalen Dredd got involved with a 24-year-old individual. 5 points.
Well, I do have stated information, and I was reading this as you were talking, so I had to tune you out, which I do from time, even when I'm not
you
doing
miss a good show
else.
when you do that.
Yes, but you mentioned the two players involved. I have a quote here from Will Muschamp on the SEC Country from Hale McGranahan's piece. And here's what Muschamp said. We're still kind of gathering facts. I've been out of town, so I've been out of pocket. I don't really have any comment other than I've talked to Deebo Samuel, and he was not at the establishment. So it was an incorrect report and irresponsible journalism, in my opinion. It is what it.
All right. So interesting. So he's saying Deebo is telling him he wasn't there. The whole thing started reportedly when the alleged victim in the case claimed that the alleged perpetrators knocked his cell phone out of his hand, and that led to a confrontation. The police report by Columbia Police, as reported in the state newspaper, GoGamecocks.com online, said that the subjects then became agitated, refuting the accusation about knocking the phone out of the hand. After a few seconds, the incident escalated to the subjects physically assaulting the alleged victim, who supposedly was hit several times in the face and supposedly had visible swelling around his left eye, according to police. The report says that bar staff escorted them from the bar, which is at 812 Hardin Street, right down from USC. The police wrote in their report, quote, the subjects were identified by the fact that they were each USC football players. Bar staff told officers the incident was captured on video. None of the football players were on the scene when officers arrived, according to the report. Again, as of if they've got it on video, that should make it pretty simple. And I would think by now, since this happened at 3 a.m. in the morning, this happened 3 a.m. Saturday. This didn't happen last night. My bad. This happened on Saturday, just before 3 a.m. Saturday. So obviously they've had a chance to look at the video and identify whoever is involved here.
Well, the thing, this whole thing to me, when it came out, you have an accusation of assault, and I could file a police report and say the professor assaulted me. And the police would take the report and investigate it and go from there. It doesn't make it true. And the rush to judgment, one side of this thing came out. It was one side. And it was trumped up by the fact that, and I don't know what this had to do with anything, but it was reported in the original story in the state newspaper that he was a 24-year-old Marine who had served in Afghanistan. So that automatically gets people even more upset. Wait a minute. Not only were these guys out assaulting somebody, but it was a veteran who served in Afghanistan. And that, to me, was an unnecessary part of the story. 2 USC football players accused of assault, fine. But then you get that, you better go and get the other side of that. Why are we just now hearing the comments from Will Muschamp? I think it...
Well, that's because he's speaking in Lancaster tonight.
Okay, but before you publish something like that, don't you have a responsibility to get that other side? When you are getting all this information, according to the kid's, the guy's family, he was a Marine who served in Afghanistan. You're naming 2 players. You haven't confirmed if it was them. You don't know. Were their names in the police report? I haven't been able to locate the police report. I had questions. And of course, the rush to judgment immediately with these 2 college football players' names and national outlets. I was blocked by NBC Sports for just
already.
It was a sensational headline. Their headline was USC's top wide receiver and linebacker beat down Marine who served in Afghanistan and Bar.
What would your headline be if you were the editor? How would you have written
it? Is it really a story? What if we find out that these guys had nothing to do with it? I mean, Will Muschamp
Deebo Samuels isn't there.
Is saying Deebo Samuel wasn't there. So maybe it was another USC football player that was misidentified.
Could have been.
Deebo Samuel's name has now been smeared, and it should be, as reporters, not to spread a smear, but to find the truth. Get the whole story before you rush to it. And reporter that posted the story originally, and it was jumped on by everybody, but I still thought there wasn't enough there for me to go, I mean, it happened.
Okay, I hear you. Part of the problem, too, in terms of public perception when it comes to athletes today is the schools themselves treat the athletes as guilty before finding out the truth. At South Carolina, if you are arrested, and I'm sure this is the case at other places too, if you are arrested on a charge, you're immediately suspended before you've had a chance to even tell your side of the story. You are immediately, so they automatically take the side of guilty until you're proven innocent instead of the other way around.
Right.
That's just the position of schools today. Now, these guys haven't been arrested, so they haven't been automatically
been charged.
Yet. Yeah. I mean, what are we? I'm trying to. What
3
are we?
days later, they haven't been charged. Apparently, there's video of it.
Right.
They've been identified and have not been charged. And who knows? I'm not saying they didn't do anything wrong or that something didn't happen.
After 3 days,
and you
wonder, and you got video. What is the holdup unless there's just not going to be a case?
And it's at 3 in the morning. Okay, at 3 in the morning, in a 5 Points bar. Okay, there is all sorts of foggy things that happen in a 5 Points bar, and there could be an altercation. The whole way it transpired, where this guy says that his phone got knocked out of his hand, and he goes and approaches them and confronts them, and they get upset and respond. It sounds like one of those 5 Points stories that you've seen.
Yeah.
It sounds like the way it was written.
No other witnesses coming out saying they.
All I know is the way it's written in my house. Okay, Tom, what were you doing? What was it? 3 o'clock in the morning? Guilty. Because you're stupid.
No doubt.
To be out.
I take your calls. Also, a report, a couple of Muschamp saying up in Lancaster, he's speaking there tonight. He has said that 2 defensive linemen are leaving. We'll tell you about that in a moment. All right, we're back, 800-956-7266. So on the Gamecock Club tour, the Spurs Up tour without the Spurs Up bus, the Boom Bus has been retired after one season. Okay. Yeah, it's back in Florence being sold to somebody. Anyway, up in Lancaster tonight, and he has said that Dexter Weidman and Stephon Taylor are leaving the program. And Taylor has not chosen a new school. He'd like to return closer to his home in New Orleans. I imagine, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up at LSU. So that's too bad. And, I'm just going to tell you, recruit nuts out there, that there go your 4 stars walking out the door once again. What did it mean? But I always tell you, what does it mean when somebody's labeled a 4-star? Now, look, they might go someplace and become really good players. In Taylor's case, he never gave it a chance at South Carolina. He was redshirted, and he was being talked about as a contributor in 2017 on the defensive line. Weidman just never materialized. Don't know why. He's from Saluda, went to Camden Military for a year, had all the look of a real good prospect on the defensive line. It just didn't happen for him with the Gamecocks. So this is a loss in an area where South Carolina could ill afford losing players. We're talking about the defensive line, an already thin and talent challenged area of the team, who at the very least they would have given you some snaps and maybe a little bit of help, in a backup way. So that's not good. It's not good to lose a couple of players for whatever reason here in the summer now, as we start to hit the summer and you start getting your plans together for the upcoming season. So they'll have to really count on some incoming people, some brand new people, move some other people around, I guess, to help fill some spots there on the defensive line. As I look at the depth chart on the Gamecocks defensive line, I mean, you're going to have Dennis Wanham and Dante Sawyer at the defensive end spots inside, probably counting on Taylor Stallworth, Uric Jones, Kobe Smith, MJ Webb, Kier Thomas, Aaron Thompson. I mean, Stallworth is a veteran, and he's a good player. Jones is a former offensive lineman. The rest are unproven, really. Smith saw a little bit of work last year, but they're still not very talented on defense. There's no other way to cut it when you look at South Carolina football for the coming year. That could be, if they have an undoing this year, it's going to be because of that. I think the offense is going to be very competitive. I don't know if the defense is going to be able to keep them in ball games. And especially now with a couple of more guys, injuries and things of that nature. A lot of work still to be done on that defense.
Yeah, but you got to remember also that defense, I think, was pretty good last year, and they had to play a lot of snaps because of a young and struggling offense. Maybe the offense saves them a little bit by taking some snaps away and keeping those guys a little bit fresher, because remember, their secondary started to get torched toward the end of the season when they had to play so many snaps. So it'll be interesting to see. And that's why I say when people divorce defense from offense, sometimes your best defense is your offense. And if they get you a lead or get the running game going and get your defense some rest, that's all to the good. So that'll happen. And let's face it, Muschamp, I don't know whether Phil, you can tell us more than that. Maybe he's sniffing again, bringing in a couple of more people before the start of the summer.
I mean, they've missed on some grad transfer type people. Quarterback, of course, who looked at him. The defensive end from Minnesota cut him from his final list. So that hasn't worked out well for them. There's nobody else in the grad transfer market at this point that I'm aware of. It's possible they could jump on a junior college, and they probably will. I would imagine a late graduate waiting another grad transfer defensive lineman type who's undecided. But I mean, let's face it. What are you going to get at this stage of the game? You know, I mean, are you going to get a high quality player who's going to come in and impact your football team? No, probably not.
At this late of the game, if you don't have a landing spot, it's either because you have a ton of baggage or you're not good enough to play now.
Or you catch lightning in a bottle. I remember the first time I saw Ulrich Jones, he looked like he was going to do something, and then suddenly they changed the offensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly this year, he did some yeoman's work at tackle.
Did better. But, I mean, you don't build a program by trying to catch lightning in the bottle. You build the program by recruiting and developing guys over the course of 3 or 4 years. That's how you build a program. Well, that's what South Carolina has to get to.
They've got to hope. They got to hope that Javon Kinlaw lives up to expectations. Now, he's a guy that could step right in and really help them inside. He's 6'7", 330, probably a little bit too heavy. Probably need to get him down to 300, 310. But he's big. I mean, I've seen him in person. He was big in high school. He's even bigger now coming out of junior college. He will have every opportunity to help early on, no question about it. And then you look at a couple of more defensive people coming in, and Aaron Sterling and Brad Johnson. Again, they're going to have a chance. Sterling's big enough to play inside. He's 260, 270. Now, Johnson's a defensive end. So they've got some guys on their way coming in, but losing these two veteran guys certainly cuts into your depth, and just not a good thing at this particular time if you're South Carolina. All right, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, the place to find us is @SportsTalkSC. Clemson today officially announced the signing of Mark Donnell, the transfer from Michigan. The grad student played in 101 games at Michigan over his career there, scored 512 points, had 265 rebounds, went to a pair of NCAA tournaments, made a Sweet 16, and his best year was his 8 points per game, started 25 games, lost his starting job last season and averaged about 4 points in 12 minutes a game. He's a guy that is a good enough outside shooter to help you stretch the floor with a big guy, but can also go inside and bang. So that is now official. He'll be coming to Clemson for his one season as a grad student coming in from the Michigan program. That puts Clemson at the 13 figure as far as the scholarships go for this coming season. So apparently they are now finished with their recruiting efforts for the 2017 class. The Sporting News. The Sporting News has given us their preseason top 25. Alabama is their number one team going into the season. Southern Cal now rises all the way to number 2.
Because they got the quarterback.
Of course. Ohio State's 3, and Florida State is 4, and Clemson is at 5, though they are concerned about the quarterback situation at Clemson. 6 is Penn State, followed by Oklahoma, Washington, Michigan, and then Georgia. Number 11 is Auburn, followed by Louisville, Wisconsin, LSU, and Florida. Then it is Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Stanford, Miami, and West Virginia. 21 is Texas. They got a lot of belief in Tom Herman. Miami was 19.
Interesting.
I was talking about Texas.
No,
Why do you say Miami when I'm talking about Texas?
Because I was thinking about Texas still trying to find a quarterback, and so is Miami.
Yeah. South Florida at 22. Quentin Flowers is back. He's pretty doggone good.
I think their defense. A little bit
more about that. Let's talk more about USC situation. At 20, anything else you want to discuss here on Sports Talk. 800-956-7266, the number. Your phone calls coming up. Don't go away. Back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. From downtown Columbia, glad to have you with us. For those of you who have switched over to us this afternoon, welcome, welcome. Good to have you on us. If you ever lose us over the airwaves, of course, remember, you've got our live video stream on our YouTube channel, SportsTalkSC. Check it out on our website. Watch us live. If you missed a show, go back and look at it. All the shows are archived there, going back months and months and months. So no reason for missing us there. We're also, of course, stream for you through the apps for iHeart Radio and also the TuneIn app, our stations who are there, so you can find us there too. No excuse for ever missing a night of sports talk. With that said, recruiting coming up in a few minutes. Let's give you some phone calls now. 800-956-7266. Duke in Florence. Hello, Duke. How are you?
Good. I had two questions about recruiting that I haven't heard much from people lately. There was a defensive back that was out at Dodge City Junior College, the kid out of New Bern, as we're thinking of, and the big lineman who was out of Charlotte that was at Independence Junior College. I never heard anything more about them. I just wondered if they might be coming to Carolina.
The one at Independence, Dontrell Barkley, is very much a South Carolina possibility. He's very, very strong on them. He's going to visit here in June, but he still has another year of junior college ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not a 2017. He's a 2018 guy.
Mm-hmm.
And who was the other person you were asking about?
He was the boy out of New Bern. He's out.
Yeah. Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes is still in junior college. We'll do a checkup on him for you. He's a possible though last time I talked to his coach a few weeks ago, not likely for this year, looking more like a December graduation for him as of a few weeks ago. We'll do a follow-up and see what the latest is. So right now, wouldn't count on him either.
Oh, well, that's the way it goes. Enjoy the chat.
Thank you, sir. Always good hearing from you. Appreciate it. 800-956-7266. Up to Greenville we go. Billy, good evening and welcome in.
Yeah, two quick questions. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Loud and clear.
Okay. Did USC have anybody drafted this year?
No.
USC and Kentucky were the only teams in the SEC to not have a player drafted.
Yeah.
And for my years of following USC, at least they would have somebody in the third or fourth round. That's just sort of a sad state of your program, man.
Well, a couple of things. Yes, they missed on some people in terms of identifying how good they were. Number two, they had a lot of people transfer out over the past couple of years who went on elsewhere or either had to sit out a year and put them behind the point for the NFL draft. They're still in college or they're graduating from other schools and going on to the NFL either now or in the future. So they've had a lot of attrition that way. All that they're just a young team too. I mean, they played a lot of freshmen and sophomores who are just now. They're 2017. They're going to start having guys who are good enough and of the age and of the experience to where they'll be eligible for the NFL draft. So you're going to see that change now moving forward with people from South Carolina, USC getting drafted.
And also, Billy, just for your edification, one of the teams that everybody says recruits well every year, Georgia had one.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. The second question is this: is some of that blame to Spurrier's last years there?
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be his guys who would be the ones who are draft eligible, not Muschamp's guys. Muschamp's guys are freshmen or redshirt freshmen, except for any JUCOs that he brought in. Guys who were recruited going back to 2014, 15, 14, because it's been their third year for those who were not ready. So going back to 14 class.
Yeah. And one more quick, those two guys leaving. Is that something they decide, or have the coaches more or less told them in so many ways that, you know, you're not going to get playing time here? Is it a mutual parting of the ways, or not these two?
My guess is that in Weidman's case, they told him he needed to move on and just wasn't going to play. In Taylor's case, not knowing, because I wasn't privy to the conversations, but just based on the fact that Muschamp talked him up in the spring and after the spring game and in his meetings with the media, he was a guy that was mentioned as somebody who would give them some depth on the defensive line. So I would say it's his decision that he opted to leave the program because he was going to have a chance to play at South Carolina.
Yeah, you could mention a lot of things. Maybe a family issue where he needs to go back near his home in Louisiana, or maybe he's homesick and wants to go back to Louisiana. He redshirted. He hadn't even played a snap.
Look at that 2014 South Carolina class since you brought it up.
Here it comes.
See who was in it here who eligible had they stayed and played well. Darren Smalls, no longer there. Al Harris Jr., no longer there. DJ Smith, after this coming year, I fully believe that. I think he's a much improved player. Chris Lamons, Wesley Green, no longer there. Justin Thomas never made it in. Taylor Stallworth will be a senior. Dante Sawyer will be draft eligible. Abu Lamine is gone. Weidman is gone. Joe Blue never made it in. Bryson Allen Williams will be a senior. Malik Young is probably not going to be drafted after next season. Neither will Donnell Stanley or Michael Scarnecchia. I doubt will be drafted after next season. Kalen Ritchie never made it in. Kevin Crosby Jr. is playing, probably won't be drafted. Shaq Davidson left. Terry Guger is there and plays. Unless he has a huge year, I don't know that he'll be drafted. And Deebo Samuel will be back with a chance to be drafted. So,
assuming he wasn't at that 5 points bar.
Assuming he's not in jail somewhere. So it's a mixed bag of how many people did I say were gone? 1, 2 out of the 21 signed in that class, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 left the program prematurely. That's over a third of your class. So I don't know. That's probably not a real good number when you break it down in terms of trying to build up on your talent. But they also, again, made some judgment errors, I guess, with some of these guys. Joe Blue would have been a good player for them, I guess, had he made it into school. But he's at Newberry. Worked out well for him by going down to a lower level and playing there. Thomas, who they were in on out of high school and tried to get him back in again out of junior college, didn't work out. Al Harris Jr., they had high hopes for him. Didn't work out.
Too small.
Darren Smalls, a Shrine Bowler out of Somerville. No, he did have some knee injuries, and I think he's doing well at Charleston Southern now. So you asked the question why they don't have anybody in the draft pool from this year. Well, there's your answer right there when you look at that particular class. All right, thank you for your phone call. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Guess who got richer today?
Not me.
Not me.
Nick Saban.
The old list.
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban.
Got his contract. Good for him. Hopefully he can get out of the poorhouse.
He got his contract extended to 2024. Annual pay now will be $7.1 million for the next 2 years. Oh, and he gets a $4 million bonus just for signing.
For signing his name.
For signing the extension, he got
How many
a $4
points
million
you get on the
bonus.
SAT just for signing your name?
I'd rather have the money. Back in a moment. Okay, we are back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a Tuesday night from beautiful downtown Columbia, the capital city, just glowing this afternoon in warm sunshine and clear skies. Via phone number 800-956-7266 if you'd like to join in on the program. We got recruiting coming up. Just to wrap up this story on Alabama. So Saban, he now, and of course I've seen this on Twitter, some economic writers saying, Saban's salary is greater than, what was it, the gross national product of
a bunch of
third
nations.
world country or something like that.
Oh, about 30 nations,
Yeah.
I think.
Anyway, the coaching staff ain't doing half bad either. Jeremy Pruitt, he'll make 1.3 this year, 1.4 next year, 1.5 in 19. Brian Dabble, the new offensive coordinator, $1.2 million through 2020. Tosh Lepoy, $950,000 through 2020. Mike Loxley, $600,000. Scott Cochran, $535,000. A little surprised Burton Burns is not higher paid at $490,000. He's been on that staff a long time. Been very.
How's he getting by on just $490,000
I don't know. It's tough
a year?
But I would have thought he'd have
in
made
Alabama, of all places, the cost of living in Tuscaloosa, I'm sure, is astronomical.
Derek Ansley at $405,000, Brent Key at $400,000, and the other two, $375,000 and $275,000.
$400,000 just doesn't go as far as it used to.
No, it doesn't. These guys live high on the hog, But anyway, that's why. And Saban,
beat Arkansas every year.
Saban is like very happy to get this and look forward to spending the rest of my career at Alabama. He didn't say that, but I mean that's kind of the understanding after getting that extension. It pretty much ensures that he'll finish his career at Alabama.
Yeah, he's never been one to break a contract.
Well, he's not going to break this one though.
Of course not. There's
also,
no
where's he going to go?
there.
Where's he going to go? He's not going to go back to the NFL. Not at his age.
It also ensures that people who recruit against Alabama, well, he's about 65. He might just walk up and leave. Now this shows you he's not going.
I don't think he's going anywhere soon, but I can see he's the kind of guy that could just burn out one day.
Clemson fans need to circle, of course, now 2024. 7 years from now, Saban would be 70. What is he, 65 now?
72.
By the way, we do have
72. So, yes, more.
Will Muschamp comments upcoming from the Touchdown Club. We'll have those in the next hour.
From the Gamecock Club meeting?
Yeah.
From the Spurs Up. Okay, good deal. Good deal. Let me give you recruiting here on this Tuesday night. Got a lot of stuff to tell you about. USC is one of the final 11 with defensive lineman Rick Sandage of Concord, North Carolina. They've been on him a long time. Of course, he's from the same school from North Carolina where the Gamecocks had the commitment from Nasir Eldeen until he flipped to Florida State. Not saying this kid will do the same thing, but the Gamecocks felt really good about Hamza, Nasir Eldeen, but didn't get him.
Just locked the hotel door on the side.
Yeah, that's right. Went out the back door on us, sucker. Anyway, Sandage has USC, Ohio State, and Florida State, Florida, Georgia, LSU, and Miami on his list. Now, the Gamecocks have missed on a target, defensive back Chris Reed by USC, but last night committed to Georgia. USC was one of his first offers, and he visited in late March. Then he declared USC as one of his top schools, but he ends up committing to Georgia. Quarterback Chase Wolf of Cincinnati has USC, Boston College, Wisconsin as his top three. Will not take any more visits before he makes his decision. He's not yet determined when that will happen. Kurt Roper visited him last week. Now, BC recently picked up a quarterback commitment, but Wolf said that would not affect his decision as it pertains to the Eagles. He also picked up an offer from Connecticut. Wide receiver Bryce Thompson of Dutch Fork remains committed to Virginia Tech. He's pulled back the brake on his recruiting for now while he focuses on spring practice and summer camps. He visited USC for a spring practice in March. That's the last time he's heard from the Gamecocks. He visited Virginia Tech a couple of weeks ago, He is holding to his commitment right now, says it's pretty solid, but there's a whole year to go, he said, and things can change. He said Florida, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State, and Florida State have been in touch and are waiting on his SAT, which he takes for the first time this week. He said he will camp at Clemson in late June. He also wants to go to Florida State and Michigan, and a USC camp also is possible. He was expecting NC State, Wake Forest, and Virginia Tech to come by practice this week. Missed this over the weekend. This kind of surprises me. Burns receiver DeMarcus Gregory narrowed his list to Florida State, NC State. USC was an offer. And with that connection to Burns, I would have thought that USC would figure in the mix with him all the way to the end. Not aware of any decision by USC to pull off of him or anything like that. He just has named a top 5, not including USC. Defensive end Micah Parsons of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, recently decommitted from Penn State, of course. He was at the opening regional in New Jersey Sunday. He said that Clemson, Alabama, Florida State, Miami, Nebraska are potential visits before his senior season. Ohio State and Southern Cal also are in the mix. Linebacker Taraja Mitchell of Virginia Beach, a Clemson target, narrowed his list to Florida State, Ohio State, and LSU. USC offered 2019 offensive lineman Vincent Murphy of Fort Lauderdale. Also, 2020 wide receiver Kobe Hudson of LaGrange, Georgia. He also has a Clemson offer. USC also offered 2019 defensive back Reddy Stewart of Decatur, Alabama, and his teammate, running back Asa Martin of Decatur, who is a 2018 prospect. Also, Clemson still a factor with defensive back Verone McKinley of Plano, Texas. They're in regular contact. He hears a lot from Mike Reed, and he'll be out to see him in spring practice. He's been to Clemson twice so far. No other visit plans at this point. Clemson on his short list with LSU, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Penn State, Texas. He plans to announce this month, possibly at his spring game on May 25th. Defensive back RJ Saturday. And he said he very nearly went ahead and committed to the Gamecocks. He said he did get the impulse to commit just being around them, but he wanted to wait, talk more with his family, which he's been doing, and also talking with coaches and people in his circle just to make sure that everybody's on the same page and he's doing the right thing, etc. He originally had thought about September for a decision. That timetable has been sped up. He said sooner than later, he's going to make his commitments. It could come as early as this month. As for this particular week, he said not sure if it would come that early. He picked up an offer from NC State last night, looking to visit there. Also considering visits to Duke, Coastal Carolina, and possibly Virginia. East Carolina also has been a factor. Basketball. USC target 6'5" Mark Alstor, grad transfer from Wright State, has set a visit to USC for May 13th. He's going to Pitt on the 5th, Georgetown on the 8th, LSU on the 15th. He said Frank Martin's in touch with him daily. Miami offered 6'7" Jimmy Nichols Jr. of Conway, plus Clemson has now contacted him and is showing interest. A Clemson target in the 17 class, 6'8" Evan Cole of Cumming, Georgia, who originally signed UNC Wilmington, named there. And I think that's it. I think we have covered everything. Unless, K-Mac, you got something you want to add.
Wow. Boy, put me on.
One day, my friend, one day,
Yeah.
the kingdom will all be yours.
Defensive lineman, he commits to Georgia Tech.
Who? Basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah.
Oh.
Will you at least listen to what I'm saying?
Well, you say he committed to Georgia Tech. I thought you were still in football.
No, I was over in basketball.
Oh, okay.
I just watched video of Frank Martin's first pitch at the Columbia Fireflies game.
Was it a strike?
No.
No, it was. All right, we'll be
He
right
threw
back.
at somebody.
Coach, first, what's well? Again, I'm really appreciative for going through all the counties and interacting with fans. Well, again, I'm really appreciative. Well, again, I really appreciate our fans. It's a very small gesture to thank them for supporting Gamecock athletics and our football program. That all of them came to me after and saying, "Coach, I'm really glad we've done this. This is helping." If a person did file a false police report against one of you, want to I'm not going to get into all that. Person did file a false police report against one of your guys. Is that something that y'all as a university would want to pursue? I'm not going to get into all that. If a person did file a police report against one of your guys, is that something that y'all as a university would want to pursue? I'm not going to get into all that. If a person did file a false police. Also, coach, let's talk about that NFL draft that played you evaluating the play. Still kind of gathering the facts. I've been out of town, so I've been out of pocket, and I just got back in town today. And so we're still really I had comment on it, other than I have talked to Debo Samuel, who's not at the establishment. So it was an incorrect report, and it's an irresponsible journalism, in my opinion, but that is what it is.
I'm live. I'm live. Go in 3, 2, 1. USC missed on 5th of Hapeville, Georgia. The Gags at one time were very in 3, 2, 1. USC missed on defender Smith of Hapeville, Georgia when he committed to the Georgia Bulldogs. Can you kill your mic? I'm hearing that fan. Thank you. 1. And Rick Sandage of Concord, North Carolina. On his list also are Ohio State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Michigan, Florida State, Florida, Georgia, LSU, and Miami. The Gamecocks missed on defensive back Chris Smith of Hapeville, Georgia, when he committed to the Georgia Bulldogs. Quarterback Wolf of Cincinnati has USC. He says he will not take any more visits before he makes his decision relatively soon. Burns receiver DeMarcus Gregory has a top list now of late NC, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Clemson misses out with linebacker Taraja Mitchell of Virginia Beach. He's down to Florida State, Ohio State, and LSU. Phil Kornblut, South Carolina, Radio Networks. How that work? The left defensive lineman. USC is one of the top. The 11 with defensive lineman Rick Sandage of Concord, North Carolina. Honest also are State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Michigan, Florida State, Florida, Georgia, LSU, and Miami. The Gamecocks missed on defensive back Chris Smith. Hapeville Rick
Live from this is Sports Talk on South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Evan McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk, South Carolina. Have you with us? Our phone lines are open, 800-956-7266. So what do you make of this situation in Columbia with allegedly a couple of Gamecock football players? I mean, it's still an incomplete story as we sit here tonight. A confusing story in that you've got published reports saying something, and then you've got Will Muschamp saying, well, one of the people identified in the report there. And but K-Mac brings up a good point here in talking during the break, and that is you hope that Muschamp is not getting Stephen Garcia. Remember when Garcia had an issue and Spurrier him and turned out to him? Yeah.
But you have to take otherwise, and you don't blame Will Muschamp for defending his player. If the player tells you something as a coach, you're going to believe him. It's proved otherwise, and the old cover-up can be worse than the crime. But there are a lot of facts that still need to come out with this story. And the reaction was very swift and emotional. And I keep getting back to this, but I do think because it was initially reported that it was a Marine who had served in Afghanistan, that made people's emotions go up another level. If it would have just been reported as 2 USC players accused of an assault at 3 a.m., Saturday at a 5 Points bar, the police have not charged anyone, but they're investigating. If that's the information you have at the time, fine. But you get this information from a family member of the alleged victim. We don't know what started this. He says it was because they knocked his phone out of his hand, and he confronted them for knocking the phone out. And according to the incident report, then it escalated into a fight, and bar staff had to pull these 2 players off of them, and off they were sent. The police, when they arrived, the players were gone. But there are no other witnesses cited in this story. USC had no comment, and there was no indication that they had been contacted for comment.
They don't need witnesses. They've got video.
Apparently, according to the story, there's video.
Right.
But
if
that
the video is
video
clear, I mean, it should be clear as the nose on your
face.
But
you can see an altercation on a video, but you don't know the words being said.
No, true.
And if
true
this
that.
is and point of reference, not 9 o'clock at an establishment, not 10 o'clock, not even midnight at an establishment,
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock in the morning, where anything could have happened. And how many clear thinking minds?
Probably not very many.
I mean, that's just the reality of it. So we don't know. And I'm not the rush to judgment and the things that are thrown out. I mean, these guys were guilty. And if it does turn out Samuel wasn't even there, then I think Will Muschamp has a legitimate beef with the outlets. And again, NBC Sports, their college football feed, their headline was USC's top wide receiver and top defensive player beat down a Marine who served in Afghanistan at a bar. That's a bad headline. That's a sensational headline that's only based on the accusations of one person. And to me, that's troubling. And we're all in this industry, and there's a reason why the media doesn't get trusted a lot of times. They jump on something like this, and now that's bad reporting.
There's a picture sent to us on our website, person who sent it to us, who claims that this is the guy.
Is it a guy at the handle Hicks? Is that it? Oh, that there's no evidence of that.
No, I don't know if this is the guy or not, but what I was about to say is, if this is the guy, this guy is buffed.
But that's the whole thing. The whole U.S. Marine who served in Afghanistan. It makes people think. First of all, let's say he was a Marine and there was an altercation. It's not on his shirt. You don't know that. If there's something going on, if Pro and I get into a scuffle, he doesn't know my credentials. He doesn't know if I'm a former Marine. He doesn't know if I'm a cancer survivor. I mean, my family member could go after the fact and say, how could he do that?
It's pretty evident to me just looking at it, that his family, somebody on his side notified the newspaper because there was no arrest.
No
You'd have
arrest,
no way
no
of knowing it
charges.
unless you were
There
tipped.
was an incident report.
Right. Incident reports do not pop up on online searches, right?
No, and this might have been where the family said, here is the incident report, because you would get a copy of it as the victim,
right?
And you could show it to the guy, and the family member says, oh, yeah, he's a former Marine who served in Afghanistan. That, knowing that that is going to evoke somebody that served and fought for our country. And you're right that you don't want to do that if you
you know the tweet that you are referring to. Oh, maybe is it not available because you've been blocked?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been blocked.
Well,
I was blocked for pointing out that is a.
Do you lead the nation in being blocked?
But I mean, I didn't expect it from a major news outlet covering college football with NBC Sports. And it wasn't even negative. It's like this headline seems a tad bit, like a tad bit of sensationalism, because literally at this point only one side of the story is out. We hadn't heard anything from USC or the players. They could say, oh, we denied it, or there was something there. There could have been a witness saying, yeah, there was a scuffle, but this guy dropped his phone, blamed it on the players, came up and got in their face, and we have no idea what happened. We just know that somebody at 3 a.m. in a bar is accusing a couple of guys that he may or may not have misidentified of assaulting him. That's all we know.
And I'm not being facetious when I say this, but if this guy's an ex-Marine and he was in Afghanistan, I would expect he had got some blows in if he's a Marine.
You would think. I mean, if this guy in the picture is the guy that was actually involved.
There's no way. That guy that tweeted that is
Are you sure that's not?
That guy is one of the biggest clowns on Twitter.
Well, that may be true, but the clowns don't know
nowhere else.
That guy, that's
biceps.
The
same guy that's calling the players again. All of a sudden, they're thugs. They beat up a guy.
But
you don't know what happened.
That guy is showing off his bicep size of my head. That thing is. Anyway, I'd still steer clear of that individual if he's the guy. All right, 800-956-7266. Tomorrow here on Sports Talk, special interview for you. We are going to be visiting with Mike Williams. Excuse me. We're going to be visiting with Mike Williams and Cordray Tankersley, a pair of former Clemson Tigers, taken in the NFL draft. Mike in the first round by the Chargers, and Tankersley to the Dolphins, if I remember correctly. Looking forward to talking with them.
Round was it?
They played at Clemson and won a national championship. They both are from South Carolina. One went to Lake Marion. The other went to Silver Bluff. All high schools who have talents. And in the case of Cordray, in the case of both, Mike Williams had to come all the way back from a broken neck to become a stud receiver. And Cordray came back for his senior year, could have left after his junior year, possibly would have been drafted, came back for the shot at winning a national championship and improving his own draft status. Both worked out for him.
Which he did.
Both worked out for him. So we look forward to having the two of them with us tomorrow night and interviewing them and finding out what's going on with them as they move forward with their pro careers now.
Now, size is relative, because coming from a tiny town like Denmark, to us, Silver Bluff was a big school.
Petticoat Junction. You ever been through Petticoat Junction?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Great football area, though. You know, they have at one time, and Silver Bluff is still good, but back when it was just everything was 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, and they were a 2A team, man. They were a power.
Yes.
And they consistently, I think Coach Al Lown is still down there coaching at Silver Bluff, and consistently turned out great teams and many prospects at different levels, some at the highest level, some playing a division down, but still very good football players. When we come back, we're going to hear from Will Muschamp, who met with the media tonight before speaking at the Spurs Up stop in Lancaster. We'll bring that to you in a moment. Ah, little Al Green, huh? Who is that? Lou Rawls?
No,
Love Lou Rawls. Loved Al Green.
the late Lou Rawls.
And the late Al Green. Wasn't Al Green shot by somebody in his family?
You're thinking of Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
Oh, Marvin Gaye.
Yeah,
Loved
that
him
was
too.
Marvin Gaye. His dad shot him.
That's what it was.
Yeah, just Al Green had a fight with a pot of grits.
Huh?
Yeah, I remember a lady friend of his got upset with him and he was sitting in the bathtub. She poured a pot of hot grits on him.
Killed him?
No, just burned him pretty badly. That's when he turned after he.
Is that when he became religious?
There you go. He became Reverend Al Green.
Failed to mention, we got caught up in so many other things, something we reported earlier today on Twitter, though. According to a source, B.J. Mackey, assistant coach at Charleston Southern, former Gamecock great, going to be interviewing at Presbyterian this week. What we're hearing, probably within the next 48 hours, he's going to have his interview at PC. A very strong candidate for that job, so good luck to him. We're hearing nothing substantial on USC and Clemson regarding searches for assistant head coach, not head coaches, assistant coaches at those spots. Everything seems to be moving relatively slowly there as far as we can tell. All right, Will Muschamp up in Lancaster, talking to the Gamecock Club up there, and had to break the news to everybody about no longer with the team, Weidman and Taylor, and of course having to deal with the questions about two players allegedly being involved in a scuffle at 5 points and all of that. This is courtesy of GamecockCentral.com. They were up there to record Muschamp. So let's where are we picking this up? We picking this up in any particular spot? About being in Lancaster and touring the state up beginning in Lancaster. Okay, here's Muschamp.
Again, I really appreciate our fans. It's a very small gesture to thank them for supporting Gamecock athletics and our football program. Really appreciate them and how they supported us this past fall.
Also, Coach, let's talk about that NFL draft, the players you recruited, for the win. I guess how you think the way you recruit kind of showed in the draft, and how you think that can translate to South Carolina?
Like it says, you do a good job evaluating a player and then developing a player, and we got to credit Jim and his staff and the job they've done as well. So I'm really happy for those guys to get that opportunity and being able to communicate with them this weekend and fulfill some dreams for those guys is awesome.
What's your understanding of the incident that led to the incident report with Sky and whoever else?
We're still kind of gathering the facts. I've been out of town, so I've been out of pocket, and I just got back in town today. And so we're still gathering everything. I really don't have any other comment on it other than I have talked to Debo Samuel, and he was not at the establishment. So it was an incorrect report and some irresponsible journalism, in my opinion, but that is what it is.
Coach, also, just talk about your strength and conditioning program at this point in the offseason. I guess how critical is that? Your strength and conditioning coaches are interacting with the players, mostly now. I guess how do you see that program really helping your players?
Well, we've got to get stronger as a program. That was something that we knew when we came here, and I thought we made some strides in year one, and I think we're starting to see the benefits of Jeff Dillman and his staff in year two. We're going to have 45 scholarship players that are going to be from May Master. Some of them have some internships and some different things. I'll leave that up to the players as optional if they want to be here, but a lot of the guys wanted to be here, but especially on both lines of scrimmage. So I'm real excited about that.
Were all your players able to make it through exams in the semester okay academically?
Well, we're finishing exams today, so I think we're in good shape.
Any transfers? Anybody left since the last time we talked to you?
Stephon Taylor and Dexter Robin are both going to transfer. Dexter's going to go to South Carolina State. And Stephon Taylor's going to get closer to home.
That was mutual decisions in terms of they were looking for playing time and they didn't fit in their plans necessarily.
Yeah, again, they want another opportunity. Stephon wanted to get closer to home, and I both think a lot of both young men.
Hey, Coach, with that strength and conditioning program, I heard something about yoga. How much yoga do the guys do? Have you even done some yoga in your days?
No, I haven't. I need to, but it's all about lower body flexibility, and really, as a football player, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and anybody that has to play in space, change of direction is essential to to being able to be a good football player. And when you have lower body stiffness, it's hard to change direction. And so that's something that I really wanted us to do a year ago. We never really got to it, and we were able to do it this year and have a little bit more time because we finished spring so early. We were able to get 3 lifts a week with our team and then be able to use yoga twice a week. And I think the guys at first weren't real excited about it, but I think that all of them came to me afterwards saying, Coach, I'm really glad we've done this. This has helped me.
If a person did file a false police report against one of your guys, is that something that y'all as a university would want to pursue?
I'm not going to get into all
that. Yeah, that sounded like John Whittle question there at the tail end from the Big Spur. What was the question? Did you make heads
if someone did make a police report against one of your players, is that something you or the university would it get into or contest? And he just says he's not getting into any of that right now.
Would he get into it and contest it? Is that what
it's just, would you get into it? Like, do you want to comment on that? He's like, we're not going there right now. Still too early. Still stuff's going there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of answers with Muschamp, but it does sound, even the way Josh Kendall worked, whoever else. It sounds like D. Samuel wasn't there either. I mean, if that were the case, Gamecock fans, you talk about that's your best on than
not named Bentley.
A bad incident.
Yeah.
Right. Well, your best. Yeah. That's a good point.
Bentley was there too.
Hey,
I'm just
seriously, that
was off the top rope.
3 o'clock in the morning, Jake Bentley is tucked in bed with his teddy bear, dreaming about touchdown passes and things of that nature.
Well, Steve Spurrier would say 2 o'clock in the morning. You know, that's
that he would. Time. That he would. All right, very good. That was Will Muschamp from up in Lancaster tonight. I wonder if they're meeting at the that great place outside of Lancaster. Did the show there once before with the Shrine Bowl.
Is it a fish camp?
Yeah, the Lancaster Fish Camp. Is that what it's called? Catawba Fish Camp, I believe. Great place. Hope it's still open. We're informed that Coach at Silver Bluff has retired. Al Lown, great coach. Okay. Didn't realize he had retired. So we wish him well in retirement. Back to the phones we go before we hit the break. Billy and Myrtle Beach. Oh, yes, Lancaster. Did you say Lancaster? Act like you're from South Carolina, will you? Hey, Billy, what's up?
This is Billy in Myrtle Beach.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, I got a quick. I think there's a lot of misperception with Clemson football coming out the spring that Watson's gone. Watson was special because he just didn't get erratic and he was just smooth and love to take on the big moment. But I think somebody will, whether it's Derek or Hunter Johnson, with the offensive line being as good as it is and the defense probably being good or better than that Vic Beasley defense that had 11 players sign contracts. I just think that if the quarterback situation works out, Phil, I want to see if you agree with this. Could Clemson works out because they're studs about it, every unit, but it's just about growing up at that quarterback position. I'm going to take the comments off there.
But they lost more than just Deshaun Watson, right? They lost their starting running back, their best 2 wide receivers, their starting tight end. So I don't disagree that the defense is going to be outstanding next season. One of the best in the country, which they've been the past few seasons under Venables. And I would put them out there. They could have a top 10 defense, top 5 defense even. But to say that the only thing they have to do is replace Deshaun Watson, which they're not going to do. You don't replace the best quarterback in college football.
No.
You can have a very serviceable guy back there, and there's no question that Clemson has those guys, but he's going to be breaking it a lot to take a step back.
And of course,
I'm sorry.
ACC is
I'm
getting
sorry.
Period. And they're not going to be in the Final Four.
I'm sorry.
Period. They're going to lose 2 games at least in the regular season. Period.
Don't
Game, set, match.
Doubt Clemson. Okay,
lose a quarterback. They're never going to lose a game ever again.
Lose a quarterback. Have I been wrong?
Pittsburgh would beg to differ with that.
One little exception.
NC State.
They didn't lose to NC State.
They should have.
All right, let's go racing for a little bit as we welcome in El Presidente of Darlington Raceway, Kerry Tharp, for his weekly visit with us here on Sports Talk. Before we get to racing, we were just talking amongst us here. We wanted to know when the last time it was, KT, that you talked with Ike Crowfoot.
You mean Ikey? Coach Holtz used to call him Ikey. Boy, I tell you, it's been a while. I know he comes from a long family of Crowfoots. I do know that, but that's a name that I haven't thought about in a while. But I remember, Ike, he was pretty good deep snapper.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Now, during your day at USC, of course, you had your many opportunities to deal with police reports related to football players. You don't envy anybody in that position, do you?
No, I certainly don't. And, I used to tell my good friend Harold White, the associate AD for student, I guess, athletic student affairs, I guess. And anytime I would get a call from Harold late at night, it wasn't to tell me that someone had made a 3.5 grade point. It was usually something else. But Yeah, your guy was informing me there a little bit of what was happening, but hopefully that'll all straighten itself out.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's talk about things in NASCAR. And Joey Logano gets a nice win. In fact, the Fords really did well, and of course, the Penske team, they had a nice weekend in various areas of racing, in particular Richmond.
Well, they really did. I believe they also won the IndyCar race, if I'm not mistaken, Phil, and strength of Roger Penske's race teams. But, you know, I was talking earlier to someone today, you know, I think the Ford performance that we've seen out of NASCAR, you know, there for a while they were kind of struggling a little bit. I mean, really, they had Penske as their flagship, but when you take a look at the folks at Stewart-Haas Racing, I know Kurt Busch has struggled of late, but he won the Daytona 500. And then you look over there at Roush Fenway, and they're probably having one of their better seasons they've had in the last 3 or 4 years with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I believe they had a top 5 or 6 this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Bayne is in the hunt for a playoff berth. And so I think the folks at Ford have to feel pretty good about themselves, about, you know, the performance that they've turned in so far through the first 9 races, I guess, of the season. And I think that's probably one of the stories this year that maybe people didn't quite expect.
All right, so Dale Jr. Drives in his first race since announcing his retirement, which is in 30th position, so not a good showing. But my question to you is, as a track president and promoter and having to deal with the circus that will be Dale Jr. when he comes through, how did they handle it at Richmond? And have you talked with others in your position around NASCAR about plans for dealing with this?
Well, we have, and certainly, you know, we've talked collectively as a group about it. Talked collectively as a group about the, you know, the Dale Jr. circus, as you like to say, or the retirement that's going to happen, and certainly that's a big part of our race right now, of our season, and so we're going to handle it appropriately. We're going to from his people and handle it the right way. You know, Dale Jr. has been nothing but an advocate of Darlington Raceway. He's such a proponent of our throwback weekend, and we're so excited about that. And so, you know, heck, I would almost like to make him honorary chairman of our throwback weekend and invite him back every year. You know, after he you know, gets out of the race car. But you know, he is meant so much to the sport. Even though he might not be driving a race car, he's going to mean so much to the sport, I think, from a brand standpoint, from an ownership standpoint, with his Xfinity Series team. And he just, so, yeah, there's some things that I think we'll probably wind up doing for him and his family as we approach the race weekend. We've been talking about some things that don't have them all baked yet, but certainly he's a guy that we want to certainly make do and make sure that we recognize him properly.
All right, today you announced something at Darlington for your weekend, partnering with the group owned by Mark Cuban, Rent Like a Champion. And give us the background on this.
Well, this is an opportunity for fans, executives, corporate people that, you know, go to a sporting event. If they don't want to stay in a hotel, they can get some pretty good accommodations. People rent their homes out. I know you've seen this a lot of times at golf tournaments, big golf tournaments that rent their homes out. Also, college football weekends, people rent their homes out for fans and others that come to the community and want a place to stay and maybe not want to, you know, stay at a hotel. And so this is, I think, we're the first NASCAR track to partner with this group. Certainly Mark Cuban. I mean, you can't argue with his business success, what he's done with the Mavericks and other business ventures he's been involved in. So, you know, I think this is an opportunity, particularly in this region of the state, Phil. You know it as well as I do because you're right from down the road. You know, there's not an overabundance of lodging here, and so sometimes folks have to drive 30, 40 miles maybe to get a place to stay. And so, you know, why not make it more convenient for them if we can offer up some homes here in the Darlington County area and let them stay at a reasonable rate and get them closer access to the racetrack.
Do you think you'll find the inventory of houses in the Darlington area to make available?
Well, I think you will. I think this is a first step, first year, so there's probably going to be some education that has to take place. But there's some nice homes in this area, and there's some homes that probably people would like to stay in, during the course of the race weekend, that are near the racetrack that people would like to make available. And I mean, I always thought this, Phil, when I was working for NASCAR, traveling 25, 26 races a year. So one of the most important things to me when we were traveling, how close are we to the racetrack? Because we got to be there at the crack of dawn. We got to stay there till late at night. And I don't want a 45 or 50-minute drive after I've been in there 14, 15 hours. I want to be able to get quickly to where we're staying. And so I think some folks in this area that have some lodging and some accommodations around the racetrack, they might benefit from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who's responsible for leaving the house in inhabitable condition after the people leave? Because you know how race fans can get after a few days at the track.
Especially if their driver doesn't win. I think that's obviously there's contractual arrangement to be drawn up between the renter and the folks who's out, and there'll be certain guidelines and so forth that have to be followed. But I think for the most part, these will be your respectable people. Still, this could be like corporate people that are coming in, maybe renting a suite or getting a bucket of tickets, and they have 7, 8, 10 people that they want to try to house somewhere, and maybe somebody's got a 3 or 4 bedroom house that makes it applicable for that. So I think this is something that might apply to some of those folks, but then again, who's to say it might not be where some fans come from all the way down from Canada or New York or something. They're looking for a place to stay, and this might be what they need.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going Talladega this weekend. Restrictor plate racing, and a chance for Dale Jr. in particular. You know how good he does at Talladega.
Well, there's no question, Phil. I've been down there many, many times, and anytime Dale, world hunger is cured, there's no more poverty, and gas goes to 88 cents a gallon. So, I think this is an opportunity for Dale Jr. down there to possibly get in the win column, get in the playoffs, and like he said on the commercial I saw the other day on the race broadcast, this is Earnhardt country, and there's no truer statement than that. When you go to Talladega, it is Earnhardt country. Him and his dad have won more there than any other people. And any other drivers, and so I think it's an opportunity for him maybe to kind of turn his season around and get into the win column.
All right, KT, as always, we appreciate it, sir. Have a good week. We'll talk to you next week. Kerry Tharp here on Sports Talk. Back in a moment. Back we are, Sports Talk, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. Don tells us that Coach Al Lown retired after the 2015 season. So thank you for that, Don. I was not aware that Coach Lown had retired. Burton Abel took over last year. All right, so very good. What else we have here on Twitter, K-Mac, that's exciting to us?
I was told we have some answers to our question of the day. I don't have that in front of me.
What is the question of the day?
Right now.
I'll give you our poll question of the week.
Do that.
You've got the question of the day. I have the poll question of the week. And the poll question of the week is, will USC finish over 500 in SEC play?
No.
Football?
This is basketball. I mean, baseball.
Basketball? Yes.
Now, hopefully people are understanding I'm talking baseball here. Maybe I should have put that in the question. But, we're talking about the current sport. 65% say no. They will not finish over 500 in SEC play. 34% say yes. If you haven't voted, go to our website, sportstalksc.com, and vote. Did you find the question of the day?
The Sports Talk question of the day, the Houston Texans can get to the playoffs with journeyman QBs. Will Deshaun Watson win them a Super Bowl?
And the answers are?
Let's see if he can start first before we talk about Super Bowls. And that's a good question. I guess we'll see. That's playing along right there. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
That's the answer to every question.
So what's the voting breakdown?
No one has said definitively or not.
I mean, we don't. This is not a poll question. This is just a question of the day.
Just a question of the day.
Oh, I got you. And who came up with this question, K-Mac?
The award-winning producer.
Oh, this is a John
I
Mark
don't
creation?
think it's a bad question. I'm not a huge fan of how it was worded.
Careful now. Tread
It
lightly.
doesn't specify.
He's very sensitive about criticism.
Is he?
Yes, be careful.
He has his name twice on the Sports Talk Award for best sports show.
Couple of
He's
comments
beyond
here.
Reproach. Beyond reproach.
It was
Couple more.
a great
I'm
question.
sorry, you
It was a
talking?
great question. I will stand.
A couple of more questions here or comments on our
Available.
Twitter feed at SportsTalkSC. Fake Will Muschamp about the two players leaving says, dang, I was looking forward to watching Taylor. Thought he was going to be a big-time player. Yeah, I agree. I thought, too, that he was a big pickup for them out of New Orleans. Maybe it just didn't fit for him for whatever reason. But certainly, who knows? You don't know the backstory. If he wasn't happy here as a student or as a football player, he could have left in December and gotten started at his new place in January and gotten ahead of the curve. Waiting until the end of maybe he had to wait till the end of the semester for him to be leaving.
Well, sometimes the parent will say, you chose the school. Now stick it out. Let's go.
Sure.
They don't want them to get into a habit of quitting every time something doesn't go right.
Let's see here. Somebody writes about the alleged incident in 5 points, responding to some other tweets. Dude had a few facial injuries. He was not gang assaulted, moron.
Nobody knows what happened, what his injuries were.
Billy writes, charge 2 importers, 6 win. Let's see here. That's good for now. Let's go back to the phones. And we listen to Ian. Welcome into Sports Talk. Alan, how are you?
You were saying on your Tharp about Darlington houses, I guess, for the weekend or something like that?
Correct.
Thing. Did the Southern 500 probably when I stayed in a group of young guys, 18 years old, stayed in a man's house that worked at the Speedway late at night.
Mm-hmm.
And you just ride around Darlington and you'd see it on a telephone pole that said rooms for rent, a something like that and get out and talk to them. And if they thought they could trust you, they'd stay there.
Yeah. Well, now this is renting an entire house, and the owner is gone.
Yeah.
This is
not Airbnb.
Let me say one thing else about that.
Okay.
The same gentleman, yes, when we were up there a few years later to stay, and he said, I don't have a house she just built, any furniture in it or anything, and she might let y'all stay there. And that's what we did. We stayed in a brand. It wasn't really big or anything.
And you stayed.
But,
you stayed with the daughter?
No, she was not there.
Oh, okay. The old farmer's daughter story. I thought we were getting here.
I don't know about a farmer's daughter, but she wasn't there. But that's what, and you know, of course, I'm sure they rent out houses at Bristol. A couple of years ago, I was fortunate enough to get a Father's Day gift for a ticket. And my oldest son and I went up to Bristol, and
how'd you like it?
It was 105 degrees that weekend, the whole weekend. And that's no lie. I think it was 2008. We stayed in a double bed in a house, but we paid for that double bed for 2 nights.
Was it exorbitant?
But it was.
Is it exorbitant?
Well, I think it was like for 2 nights for a double bed in a house.
That pricing. Well, you know, and thanks for your phone call. Thank you. You know, this is something, as you heard KT say, Mark Cuban has gotten behind it, his company, and Washington and KT counting themselves as the first ones in NASCAR circles to hook up with these people and try this and see if NASCAR fans will respond. I've heard of this, of course, around golf tournaments.
Yeah.
You know, Masters,
Right.
Harbor Town, et cetera, et cetera. Works here for NASCAR. You know, and so, look, the hotels drive up their prices the week of Darlington. This is not just Darlington. We're talking about around any track. They or any sporting event for that matter. You know, go to Tampa for the national championship, or you know, go someplace where there's a major event, and the hotel prices are going to be skyrocketing. So this is maybe somewhat of an alternative to that. It may be, I don't know what it's going to cost. You get maybe 2-3 families to go in together if the house is big enough, and you split the deal, and you come out ahead from that standpoint. So we'll see how it works out.
It would just worry me because, if you got children with you, I'm going to go over that house with a fine tooth comb and say, see that crack in the wall right there? It was there when we
walk in the house. Honey, who put the fireplace in the bathroom now? Where'd that come from?
That's 2 words: secure.
Yeah, large security deposit. Okay, Braves are in a 2-2 game with the Mets in Atlanta.
Freddie Freeman just went.
Atlanta of 6, 3-3. Oh, is it Mark Fox? No, what's the coach? North Carolina, Mike Fox. Mike Fox. Yeah. Be careful about your job if you lose to Richmond there, Mike Fox. Top 5 team, 3-3. That's going to do it. Any final thoughts from anybody? You're smart.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, really, if we wanted to buy when we were in college, you did that in your dorm room or at a friend's house. Parents lived in the Columbia area. You did not go to 5 Points.
All right, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for being